It seems like the mixing videos are going down a treat, so I thought I'd make some more for the channel. And in today's video, I'm showing you how to get a great mix for your bass and your drums inside of drum and bass. It might not be as complicated as you think. Me personally, when I'm mixing drum and bass, I try to get the bass as fat as possible, then balance it out, do a few tips and techniques which I'll show in this video, and then it's pretty much mixed itself. So for this instance today, we are working with this drop, which is a little jump up kind of thing. Which is nice, but could be better. I've mirrored this drop from here to here. We're gonna be working entirely on this, and right at the end we'll do like a before and after to see if we've made some good changes, which I'm pretty sure we will. So first things first, elements, siren. Won't really be touching that this video. Drums. Very larger than life drums, and of course bass. So where do we begin? Like I said before, these drums are larger than life, so they're very dominant in the frequency spectrum. There's a lot of information going on across here, especially since we've got such a fat snare as well. It's not just like a tight technical snare. I mean, that snare is taking up a lot of space as opposed to some more modern D&B snares that just could end up there. But the assumption for this mix and this entire video, we're going for a fat, humongous sound for drum and bass. So all the things I'm about to talk about apply for that. It's not just like a minimal drop, it's a freaking big banger. So first things first, I like to tie all the drums together with a little bit more saturation. You can find that under saturator or raw. I've been digging raw these days, but for this instance, saturator. And all you need these drums are kind of big already, so we're going for that big sound. I just want to push the drive just a little bit too much. Like that. You can start to hear some artifacts come through with the saturator, so I'll just back that off a little bit. And that's usually like a good starting point. I'm really happy with those drums. It's got all the elements, it's got cymbals, it's got rides, it's got kick snare. I'm happy to leave it as is and focus our attention for this video onto the bass itself, because I'm going to make the bass absolutely shine and then balance the two together. So with this bass, yeah, it's occupying quite a bit across the frequency spectrum. It could have a little bit more on the high end, and the sub bass could be a bit more pronounced, so I'm going to work on those two things. Head over into the main bass. And like I said, could use a bit more higher frequencies. You can do this with the noise oscillator. Just got a little bit more high end information there. I'm going to map this so it comes in with the wub. Just to add to that fatness of that sound already, I'm going to do the same for this other bass here, which could use a bit of noise, and then the wub. A little bit more. Too much. And if you're not working with serum, an easy way to do this is erosion. Wide noise, and then push it towards the higher end frequencies. You can hear that extra sizzle at the top. So our bass now. Got the extra sizzle on the high end, which is great. I do want to emphasize that sub just a bit more, so I'm going to remove this sub and create a new one. And by creating a new one that separates itself from this bass, we can just have a bit more control over that. So I'm going to duplicate this main bass here. This will be our sub. I'll go back into the main bass, and I'm going to get rid of those sub frequencies with the high pass on this EQ. So there's our bass. Cool, and this sub layer, I'm going to do some tweaks. I'm going to remove this. I'm going to remove the noise, we don't need that, and most of the effects as well. We do not need these effects coming through. Our sub is going to be clean. Get rid of the randomization. And then this is our wub parameter, so we're going to drag this on the level 4. Nice. Just need a bit more snap on this, so I'm going to leave the sub attached to this pluck bass. A little bit of variety, and we want this main bass to really shine, hence the separate sub for that. So, and with all these basses together, I'm going to saturate them just a little bit with some analog clip. And we've introduced volume, so I'm going to knock it back just a little bit. So we've got a little bit more sizzle on the high end. We've got a focused sub bass now, and what else do we need? Layering. So I've kind of already cheated and made the separate layer using this main serum patch. And since this is a layer, we do not want this bass interfering with our main bass or our sub, so EQ is going to be dragged and dropped onto that, and we're just going to get rid of that low end. And of course, we could push this a little bit more with saturated. It's a bit quiet at the moment. Saturated is my go-to. So we can hear that coming through now. We'll unmute that channel. Yep. All kind of sitting very mono-ish, very direct down the middle. So for this secondary layer, I'm going to add a delay to time, separate them. Just give an extra metallic-y sound as well. And a bit of chorus in there. So before and after. Might mute these a little more. Alright, nice. Let's hit our drums and bass together. Hearing the drums a little bit too loud. And since this is kind of a jump up song, I'm wanting to push the distortion just a little bit more. Okay, too much. I want to get that soft saturated sound that seems to come through, so soft clip. That's a bit better, but now the bass is too loud from the drums, so we can bump that down a bit. When in doubt with mixing, I try not to just boost everything. I'd rather turn down the volume, even if that means if my bass is too quiet and it's sitting at like 0 dB here, I'd rather turn everything else down rather than pushing this even more, if that makes sense. Headroom is the name of the game. So yeah, try to turn down before you turn up, if you know what I mean. The drum level is good, the bass level is good. Now it's just a fine tweak. The snare's getting a little bit lost in the mix. I don't want to use conventional sidechain compression. I'd rather target the snare frequencies individually because everything's just going to be so amping and so loud. I'd rather not have that ducking effect from sidechain compression. Bass ducks whenever kick comes through, classic example. So I'm going to resort to multiband sidechain compression and just control those frequencies. Multiband dynamics on the group. I'm going to turn the sidechain feature on, and audio from, we don't want the first drums, we want the second drums here. This can apply compression to 3 different bands, a high, mids, and lows. Actually, no, we won't do drums, we'll do snare. I'm going to isolate the bass and we'll get some compression going so we can hear the snare come through. I'll apply it really dramatically so you can hear what it's doing. Fast attack, fast release. It's completely compressing that mid-range of the bass whenever the snare comes through. So to hear that in context, a little bit too much. So this mid-range kind of focuses around the snare diff, which will lie between 120 Hz and 2K. And to find that, you can go into snare 1, this is our main one. It's that diff that we want to come through, which is sitting at 200-ish Hz. But there's a lot of snap in this body around here as well. So around 200 to 2000 kilohertz I reckon is going to be the go. Back into bass, around there to around there, so this middle band. And a little bit of the snap above, I reckon. But this is an over dramatized, just overdone compression, so we can knock this back. So that's a bit more ducking on this bass when the snare comes through. We can do the same for the kick now and target those lower frequencies instead of the middle. So duplicate, set this from the kick. So I'm gonna knock this back and knock this back a little bit. Fast attack, we want instantaneous when that kick comes through, and then completely cut out that sub range whenever you hear the kick. But way too dramatic, so we don't need that. We just want a little bit of a squeeze on this bass whenever the kick and snare comes through, so it gives us a bit more punch with the drums. So I think that should be good. A little bit too much on the snare. In terms of value is what I'm going for, primarily using my ear, I wouldn't push it more than maybe 20 is where I'm hearing the artifacts come through. It's just too much. It's just too much of a squeeze whenever that snare hits. So depends what your mix needs, but start questioning it when you go past like 20, around 20. That's maybe a little bit cooking. But depends what your mix needs, like I said. And those are my tips and tricks for bass and drums relationship for D&B. Let's hear the before and after and make sure I actually improve the drop. Okay, that is way louder, so I'm gonna try and match these volumes because we've added a lot of volume in this. Side-by-side comparison before we applied all those mixing tips and tricks. Alright. So much better, and that's probably down to the saturation use, but it's also down to the sizzle, to the isolated sub, to the multi-band sidechain compression, to balancing the levels out properly. Sounds all balanced. Sounds a little bit all over the show. The snare's just maybe a touch too loud. Bass isn't really popping. It's not really pushed like drum and bass should kind of sound like. When that comes to mastering, that's gonna be loud, juicy, and fat. And that is the bass drums D&B mix tutorial. If you do like the sound of, I rendered this out into a kit along with 39 others and made a pack called Equilibrium. And all the stems to that is here along with a bunch of different other ones. If you do like that, I'll leave a link to this entire pack called Equilibrium. Link will be in the description. Hopefully this tutorial helped a lot, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace!